So the first is, did you ever say anything to the Prime Minister that you knew not to be true?
No.
Thank you. And specifically, in terms of the particular points that Dominic Cummings raised, first, did you say that everyone who needed treatment got the treatment that they required when you'd been told by the Chief Scientific Advisor and the Chief Medical Officer that people did not get the treatment that they deserved?
I did absolutely say, both in private and in public, that everybody got the COVID treatment that they needed. And I'm very proud of the fact that with the NHS, we delivered on that during the pandemic because it was critical. Throughout this, I have got out of bed every morning with the view and the attitude that my job is to do everything I could to protect lives and to get this country out of the pandemic. And I've approached that with a mission-driven determination to make it happen. And I've tried to do that with an approach of honesty and integrity and critically answering questions both in public and in private to the best of my ability.
Is it your chance to give a version of events today, Mr Hancock?
We're operating in a world where there's huge judgments being made with very imperfect information, often at great pace. But from the approach I've taken, not least in public and to Parliament and select committees like this one, and in private to the Prime Minister and everybody else, has been to be direct sometimes, yes, and I can be quite forceful when I'm trying to get something through if it needs to happen. But that's what you have to do, and crucially, you have to bring the team with you. You know, there are a lot of people operating, doing the biggest job that they'd ever done in their lives, and you have to build confidence that people can go ahead and do what needs to be done, and then they're going to be supported in the judgments that they take. So we'll go through, no doubt, lots of difficult judgments that were made, and it's very important that we learn the lessons of which of those judgments could have been improved. The attitude and the approach was always to be direct and as straightforward and honest as possible. So in a way, I welcome this opportunity to tell you the truth of what happened.
Why do you think it was that Dominic Cummings chose to be quite so withering? Did you have a bad personal engagement over the times? Was it a sincere difference of policy view? Whether policies or, as it were, sort of operational decisions. What's the origin of this dispute?
I have no idea. I mean, I worked directly with the Prime Minister from the start of this, and of course I worked with his aides and his team as well, and I have no idea.
Did you know that he wanted the Prime Minister to fire you?
Yes, because he briefed the newspapers at the time.
Right.
Or somebody briefed the newspapers. I now have a better idea of who it was.
Did you really think Matt Hancock was useless, sir? Why didn't you sack him? Were you hopeless, Mr Hancock? I don't think so.
I see you've got one less friend today, Secretary of State. I am keen to see Terminus Day. I've always tried to keep our dealings civil in public and private with the Secretary of State, but not, so it seems, the Prime Minister. The Right Honourable Gentleman, now forever branded as hopeless Hancock by his own leader. Well, for many of our constituents, when they'll be watching the news tonight, when they know that they failed to protect our borders, when they know that they allowed this variant to take off, and when they saw that restrictions are being extended, I think many of our constituents will no doubt repeat the Prime Minister's expletive-laden sentiment about the Secretary of State.
So it's a shambles, and actually if it's true what Dominic Cummings has said about the fact that he failed on PPE and he failed on our care homes, and the Prime Minister knew about that, then there's questions of why the Prime Minister kept him in post and allowed more people to die unnecessarily.
Do you feel you have the confidence of the Prime Minister, Mr Hancock?
Just off to deliver more vaccines.
Can the public have confidence in you, Mr Hancock? Given what the Prime Minister has said?
You call Matt Hancock hopeless. Do you still have full faith in him?
I have complete confidence in Matt, and indeed all of the government who've been dealing with COVID throughout the pandemic.
Surely it's embarrassing, isn't it, for your boss, the Prime Minister, to say that about you in whatever context?
No, it isn't really, because of all the things we've delivered together. And, you know, we're here talking about the success of the vaccine programme, right? And, of course, we've had obstacles and we've had people that we've had to, deal with on the way.
Prime Minister, Your Majesty.
Good afternoon.
Your Majesty.
It's very nice to see you again.
Lovely to see you again. It's been 15 months.
Really?
15 months since
Yes,
we were last.
It's most extraordinary, isn't it?
It is.
I've just been talking to your Secretary of State for Health, poor man. He came to the Privy Council.
Oh, yes.
We mentioned one of your colleagues, Mr Sunak. I wonder if we can mention Matt Hancock and the suggestion that his career could be in the balance over photographs where he seems to be ignoring social distancing and getting close to a colleague.
Well, I as ever with private...
Don't tell me you've not seen this, Mr Shapps.
I have seen the photo, but as ever with private...
What's your
matters,
reaction to the photograph,
I
Mr
always try to avoid
Shapps?
commenting on other people's personal lives, and I think I'll stick with that tradition here.
Well, I'm just saying, should the Secretary of State for Health be ignoring social distancing and wearing a mask in that fashion?
Well, I'm quite sure that whatever the rules were at the time were followed.
Wow!
Which was
if
more
those
recent.
are the rules, I want to work where you work. This is phenomenal, Mr Shapps.
Well, the Prime Minister must act. He must remove the Health Secretary from his post. You know, that is very, very clear now. We cannot continue with this situation.